Hi, I'm Lori Leisure, and I've got Niall Johnson with me, and we're doing a new exciting podcast for interior designers called To the Trade. And we wanted to talk this first episode about what we're doing and what we're all about. But first, I want to introduce Niall. Niall, tell us a little bit about you, your background, your design business. We want to hear all about it.
Sure. My name is Niall Johnson. I am in Pennsylvania, in a town called Kennett Square outside of Philadelphia. I have a residential interior design business. Well, mostly residential, but I also do some commercial design. I have three little ones. Well, 13-year-old is not so little, but 8-year-old and an 11-year-old. They keep me busy. And that is pretty much it. The design business and those three keep my hands full these days. So,
I'm sure. I'm sure. So I wanted to ask you what prompted you to want to, be a co-host for my this podcast?
mm, that's a good question. I think I have lots of opinions, and
I love opinions. I love it.
I have lots of opinions, and I just need someone to help me rein them in. Um, and I also want I like community. And I think in our industry, the creative industry, not just design, but I think in the creative industry, period, um, we do better when we feed off of each other, for lack of a better term. I think creativity expands, it gets better, right? When you sort of have that bounce back, that whether you agree, whether you disagree, the comparison, the contrast, I just think that creative thing just it grows in a way that it wouldn't necessarily if you kept it all to yourself. I can't really explain it. It's just that when you share with other creatives, what you get back is something that you just wouldn't if you sort of kept it to yourself in your own lab by yourself. So being able to do this with you and have this forum, I think, and with hopefully talk to other people, I think it will be something that I wouldn't necessarily get. And honestly and selfishly, some adult conversation. I'm just tired of talking to kids all the time.
I feel you. I feel you on that one. I know what that's like. My kids are older and it's like they won't talk to me anymore, but I remember mom, 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 mom.
Oh my God. I'm like, please learn a new name, please.
Yes, yes. So I think that I should probably say I'll introduce interior design community to some of you because a lot of you might have seen us on Instagram or on Facebook and really not understand how we started, what we were doing. I'm actually not an interior designer, and I think that that always throws people. But I had a wallpaper company, and I was on originally Twitter, and I met some folks there through an interior design chat. But there didn't seem to be a easy way with like 120 characters to really communicate and have long depth in just discussions. And at the time, Google Plus was sort of a new social media, and they had started something called communities. And I thought, well, I'd read a lot about SEO and websites, and that's what I was working on. And we were doing a lot of digital marketing. So I thought, let's start there. And that will help everybody with their SEO because once you put a link to your blog or whatever, it would index that faster. Google is the biggest search engine. So
Mm-hmm,
their own social media, there was a reason you'd want to do that. So
mm-hmm,
we jumped on to communities. The day communities started, we claimed interior design community. And I was like, my expectations were very low. I was like, it would be cool if someday like 200 people would be in the group sharing information. Was my thought process at the time. And it just grew like crazy. And it grew so much bigger and so much faster than my wallpaper business. So I ended up selling my wallpaper business and focusing on interior design community. We grew on Google Plus to 75,000 members. I think I personally had like 100,000 followers on that platform before it disappeared into the ether. And then in that midst of that, I always started different things. We have 15,000 followers of interior design community on Pinterest, or 21,000 on Pinterest. We started an Instagram, and we've grown that to 101,000 followers. So obviously there's a need for designers to connect with each other and learn from one another online, because I think that's what made us different from like the traditional like associations. And I've worked with the associations, so I support them, but I think there was a need for that like online quick conversation where a designer has a problem and they can get answers from other designers immediately. So we also have like a Facebook group that is small. It's only like 2,000 members, but it's pretty elite. And there's some really big power players in there. And we have discussions in there that are led by, anyone can post, but on Instagram, people send me in questions. I'll make funny memes just because I like to. You do too. You do too. I love
I
yours.
do. I
I
do.
love them. I love when anyone makes a design meme. It makes my day. So it's exciting. And so we just grown and grown. And, the greatest thing that I think that is like the foundation of interior design community is that our goal mission is to make sure designers feel less alone. So that's what we stick to is, are we helping designers feel less isolated, less alone? And can we help them, connect with each other and learn from one another and grow their businesses through that knowledge? So that's sort of what our purpose here is on the podcast, but I'm expanding it a little bit because one of the things that I've noticed, Niall, and you can tell me if this is something that you experience too, but I think designers really struggle also with work-life balance and, taking care of ourselves, because I think a lot of designers are people pleasers, caregivers, want to give. And I know myself, I'm the same way. It's taking me years of learning how important self-care is. And so I want to make sure that a foundation of this is learning, is helping people with their businesses. We're going to cover tons of amazing topics and have guests that are really fantastic and know so much. But we also want to make sure that we're, giving you guys inspiration, but also like really down to the core of like how you're living your life and how you're putting yourself first sometimes, because I think that's something that in my experience with watching designers as long as I have, because now interior design community is I think we're 12 years old. So I've been doing this for 12 years. I have a very interesting bird's eye view of the design industry, and I've gotten to know designers from every level you can imagine. And I think that's something that, from the very bottom all the way to the top, people struggle with. So we're going to do episodes on productivity and websites, because I know a ton about websites and SEO and marketing. And then we're going to do like productivity hacks, things like that. But we're also going to kind of and give you guys inspiration, but we're also going to, tell you it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take time for yourself, and how you can fit those things into your lives so that you can make yourself happier, which I think in turn will make your business more successful. Don't you think?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. And honestly, and transparently, I think it's the biggest struggle. It is my biggest struggle. I mean, when you said to me earlier in the week, either this week or last week, start to think about what you want this to mean. It was in my head. I was like, okay, what do I want this to mean? What do I want this to mean? What do I want this to mean? And then I thought, and I was thinking about everybody else. Like, what would I want it to mean to everybody else? And you're right, we are chronic people pleasers, right? And so I am in my head about what do I want it to mean to other people, and that is very important. It really is. But then I thought, no, what do I want it to mean to me? Because I need it, and I think if it really means something to me, through me, it will mean something to everyone else, because interior design community has been such a beacon, for lack of a better term, even when I was sort of like in the like even when I wasn't really interacting, because you feel like you're part of the community. Like even at 2 a.m. when I'm like, I cannot figure this out. I cannot figure this out. And I just go on Facebook and I'm just scrolling like through the comments. And I'm like, oh my God, 10 other people have had this issue. And here I've beat myself up over this for the past 3 days, when there have been 10 people that have gone through this, and I'm not alone, and this is something common, and here's how they got through it. So you feel like you have that community. And so I think, having that idea, or that thing out there, that that everyone is going through the same thing as you, and you don't have to go through it alone, and that there is this community, um, of people who are whatever you need them to be. They're your champions. They are your cheerleaders. We They are your um oh wow, that's cool.
No,
That's different.
I'm trying
I was
something.
like, wow.
I
I
was
was like,
like,
where
we're
did we
not
go?
really seeing both of us. So this is our first show. So
Oh, I was like, where did we go? That's weird. I mean, I think it is. I don't even have the words, I have to tell you, because I really do hold the community in such a high regard.
aw,
I really, really do, and I don't think you understand the level of impact that it has on a lot of us, because it's a very, and I'm not playing my violin, because listen, it's a luxury profession. I get that, it really is, but it's a lonely profession for a lot of practitioners, and it's a thankless job, right? No one's gonna die of a sofa emergency. They're not, but it can be. We can get lost in the sauce, and it can be very thankless.
yeah.
And because we, as creatives, we put ourselves in the work, and sometimes when we're not appreciated, it hurts. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. And so, or when you mess up, or when you just miss the mark. And so to know that there's a community of people who are like, hey, you know what, it's okay, you know, it happens, or hey, this is how you figure this out, or hey, this is what you have to do to move forward. I just think that having that community where you can go and, ask a question and not be judged, or not be looked at like, why would you even need a safe space
Safe space.
to
Yes.
thrive and grow. It's just amazing. It truly, truly, truly is. And that's why I am fumbling and stumbling over my words, because I don't have any for how amazing it truly is. So I would
Well,
hope
it's
that
really,
what
you
we
know,
get online translates to the
yeah,
podcast. I
I
do.
think that the thing is like, and this is how I've seen it, is that, because people will say that about, they'll say compliments to me, but I've never really thought of the community as me. And that's why for a long time on Instagram, there were a lot of people probably didn't even know I existed, but it was because like the community, I'm really just feel like I am the conduit for the community to exist. Like I put the question out there, but it's really the answers. It's really the people that are the value of the community. And it's a struggle for me because I've thought for a long time, how do I make this exist regardless of whether or not I am a part of it? And we have a board now, which is really exciting, and we have
Wow.
other moderators. So it's my goal that this will continue in someone else's hands. Should anything happen to me, or I don't, am unable to do it anymore, because I do think it's so important for designers on a daily basis. I think that they get so much out of it, and from the membership, and
Yeah.
that feeling of belonging, that feeling of not being alone, that feeling that, we talked about this earlier, and this was something that one of the members was having a conversation with me about, and she's like, when I see a designer that I know and respect in there, that I know is like, 10, 15 years more experience than I do, having a similar problem to something that I've gone through. Like, I had a design friend who was like, she was hearing, somebody that she considered a design icon, Lisa Mende, by the way, who's amazing. She said,
She is. She really is. Yeah.
she is. And she went through, she was going, discussing with a client that she had problems with. And she's like, you know what? I'm not bad at this. It's just a hard job. And that's something that really, I remembered that line for since that conversation, because it was so impactful to me that the power is there. It's not in what I'm putting out there. It's in seeing each other and seeing how each of you work together. And,
Mhm.
that ability to say, okay, if you're experiencing this, then that breeds confidence.
Yeah.
I will say, you know,
And that if somebody like Lisa Mendez says,
yeah,
"Hey, I'm not bad at this. This is just a really tough job,"
right.
then somebody like me, oh, then I know I'm having a hard time. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah, if she's still struggling with,
if she's struggling, oh,
yeah.
I'm definitely struggling.
But it's like
So
you
yeah,
you know you're not alone. You know that it's just hard and that you will get through it. And that is a confidence builder. I think that is
exactly.
what we need in that space, because certainly if you're a solo entrepreneur. So there are designers that follow us and are members that are commercial design. We have members all over the world
Yeah,
and every walk of life, but there are some things that seem to be cross platform, whether you're doing commercial design, whether you're doing residential interior design, whether you're doing kitchen design, whether you are hospitality, and then how you work with each other. And if your team's 25 people or if your team's just you, I think that there are still those like days where you have that problem that, you put out there and you'll see it's a problem everyone else is struggling with too, or they have struggled with it and they know exactly how they would handle it. And that helps you go, okay, I've got this. If they all figured it out and they're still around, I will still be around too. So that's the goal. And we have some awesome topics. Niall, I sent you the list earlier of topics that we came up with. And now you added a fantastic topic, because a lot of people have been talking about AI. And I think AI is a huge conversation, but I think that, we're going to get into how to use AI for productivity, but also like the worries that designers have about AI, because they're legitimate. I'm already seeing posts that people are sharing on Instagram, and I've seen a few on portfolios, which is really scary, of just AI-driven images, like
yeah,
were not created in CAD. And that has been a conversation with designers for a long time, and it's about skill versus no skill. So a influencer who maybe shares pretty pictures of interior design versus a designer who's in the weeds doing the work. So, that's been a struggle in the design world, but certainly as an influencer has more time to get like more, you know, time on social media so they can get more followers or better deals with manufacturers and that kind of thing. And that leads to, and breeds jealousy and discontent in the industry. And so we think about these things on a big level and how we can, I don't know, benefit designers all the time. Like, how can I teach manufacturers the problems that designers are going through so they understand where they're coming from and
yeah,
do things for that to meet that end? Like, this is what they're dealing with, so that they understand how to work with designers maybe differently than they work with showrooms and other people, because it's a different business model. And it needs different concerns and understanding. We have that little Facebook group I told you about. We have some manufacturers in there, and they have come to me in the past and said, it's like being a fly in the wall. They didn't understand, really, they didn't understand the problems that designers were facing on a daily basis. And they've changed their model based on listening to the conversations that they've heard in that community and have told me that. Like, it has been incredibly invaluable to them. And that's why I keep them in there, because I know designers sometimes are nervous that they're there because they want to be able to vent. And
Yes.
I get it. I get it. Believe me. But I'm also thinking, like, how are we going to fix the problem if we're just complaining to each other? You
Yeah,
know,
if they don't know about it. Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
don't know that that's what you're dealing with. And that's why I let them in. It wasn't because, I've been very strict with them. Like, you can't obviously put sales and stuff in here, no selling the community, but learn what they go through, because I think that that is so valuable. And there are other benefits. Like, I've seen a designer come in with, like, oh my gosh, I need this, like, this much wallpaper and it's discontinued and I can't find it. And, like, a manufacturer came through and, like, hustled around and found some stuff, and was able to get it to one of our members, which that would never happen. I mean, that, right? Like that,
Yeah, no, no. I mean, honestly,
you know,
and if they're not in there and you're having an issue and you're complaining about it, are you really looking for a solution,
right,
or,
right.
or are you looking for attention? You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I think
you know.
that,
But listen, I'm the biggest person that says sometimes I always say to people, sometimes I don't want you to help me solve
sure,
a problem, because and that's why I think that another reason why I think the community is great, because sometimes people just want you to sit with them in the room and hear them,
yes,
and just you be there, sit in the mud with me and just
yeah,
let me vent for 10 minutes and just say, you know what, you're right, this is a bad situation and I feel for you, and
right,
then let's just get up and go clean up, right? But I think to your point, having the vendors in there too, it helps, because then they can say, you know what, let's see if we can't do something about that,
right, right.
you know or at the very least, I heard you, I
Yes,
hear you, we
yes,
hear you,
yes. I mean,
yes, we hear you.
some things aren't solvable quickly, but if you know the pain points, you're more likely to come together and work together. And we believe that in all aspects of the industry, it's better that we work together than
Yep.
little silos. And the other thing that I think a good point to make is that sometimes even I feel like, oh gosh, am I being too negative? Because sometimes, like, we're poking fun at things, and there will be some pushback sometimes. Like, designers are
I know.
designers, like, I like my clients. you know I'm like, I know it's a joke, like, right? But and I worry, I want to breed happiness and positivity, but I also want people to feel like they're heard and there's relatable content there, and that that they have somebody who gets that, that not everything is rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah.
So we do that, but and then sometimes the other part of it is that some of the advice is bad. like you can't always just be like, fire them, fire that client, they're an asshole. you know I
But
get
then some, and
it.
and you're no, you're right. And then sometimes, to your point, sometimes you need that though.
Yes, yes,
Sometimes I think you need that person to come in and say, you're being you're taking too much. Like, that is abuse, for lack of a better term. They're not respecting you, and they're not, do you have a contract? What does your contract say? This is, you know, I always think it's hilarious because, like, I can't remember what it was that I was reading, but there was something, and somebody said something, and somebody said, well, first they were asking about one thing, and somebody picked the smallest thing and said, well, first of all, why are you doing this? And I love it because it's like, oh, so I should have started with A. I'm asking you about C, but really I should have started with A. I should have started with this, and maybe if I did this, and then A would have been in order, and then B would have been in order, I wouldn't even have C, the issue with C, And so I think that's again the beauty and the diversity of the group, because there are so many ways to look at it. I that's what I love about it. I really do.
I'm excited that
I'm a fan. Can you tell?
Well, I'm a fan of the community too, believe me. Like I'm always like, oh, I love that answer. Oh, that's really great. I wish that they had the same version of TikTok where you could take a full comment and like highlight it and I could throw it into stories and stuff because I should just screenshot it because some of the comments are so brilliant and I'm always
No, seriously. No, seriously.
but I
I wish that
also
you
like
could
I want
store
them to get
them.
credit, you know, like here,
Yeah.
yeah, this
Yeah. No, seriously.
because
Yeah.
people taking their time and writing, I think we're very different in that, like just from the Instagram model, because most of the time it's little tiny like, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's wonderful. That's cool. That's neat. And it's not paragraph response with
Yeah.
answers. And I love that. I love that people are, seeing it and then they go into the comments and read them and then respond to the ones that they like
Yes.
and, and then there's full conversations and people following each other from it. That is awesome. I just love to see that. And even recently we did on Tuesday put your link, just follow, we're going to follow each other. We had I think 900 comments so that people would, follow each other and people were getting 100, 200 followers from it, where people are following each other. And then I would see these little breakout conversations where like, oh, I'm from your area. We should get together and have coffee or, oh, I love your work. It's so great. It went onto your, profile and you're doing so great and I love it. And I love that. That's like my favorite thing. Actually, I have one thing that's better. The only one thing that's better that I think is the coolest thing is that I'll get sometimes a message or a text of two members hanging out in real life. And they'll send me a
Oh,
picture. And
that's cool.
if you ever
That's
do
really
that,
cool.
remember that's my favorite thing and send it to
That's cool.
me because I love that. I eat that stuff up. That keeps me going. I love
That's cool.
your real life connections made from this online world that we've created. That's different, I think. And I'd love to see more of that where, you can go to a trade show and you just know like you're gonna run into the IDC crowd, and
Yeah.
to High Point because I think it's that feeling less alone, make
Yes.
friends with because we're on the same struggle bus. Why not get to know each other and why not be friendly with each other? Why not,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
make that in real life connection kind of go through,
No.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, we're gonna wrap it up early this time. We might do an hour show, we might do a half hour show sometimes. But I really wanted this first show to just be an overall about what we are, who we stand for, what our plans are, what our goals for this show are, and to introduce both of us so you get to know us. And we're really excited. We can't wait to see more of you and hear back from more of you, and hopefully we'll learn together and we'll grow from this experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. All right. Oh, I just stopped my own video. I need to stop the recording.